Stewart. Yes, and surely that's the goal.
Hello again, everybody, and welcome back to another two-game episode of Sensible Sunderland. You join us after two more draws, the first being a 0-0 during the week with Preston at Deepdale, and the second was a much more action-packed affair with our old friends from Coventry back at the Stadium of Light. I'm Anth, and I'm here with the ever-reliable Mark. No Dan or Lee again, I'm afraid. Dan is still rotten in a Thai jail cell, and Lee's having his laptop repaired, which I can only assume means he's had that and any other electronic devices seized by Guardians of the North again. That was trickster,
I'm not
Mark.
like that. We're here, the two Thunder Nods aren't again.
How are you though, mate? You all right?
I'm all right. I'm frustrating week though. I don't know about you. Really frustrating week.
Yeah, yesterday felt like a defeat, didn't it? It's very, very flat coming out the ground. It was ours to chuck away, and we did that spectacularly. So going to take some getting over, to be honest. I think it hasn't helped that we're going into a national break as well, so that's kind of going to be left to fester, isn't it?
That's the thing. I'm going to stew on it now for 2 weeks, and then it puts more pressure on the games coming back as well. So it's frustrating one, especially yesterday.
I'm going to be very, very unpleasant to be around for the next 2 weeks. Well, more so unpleasant for the next 2 weeks.
I was going to say, no, just German.
I mean, we'll get to that. We'll get to that game yesterday, but first, I want to start off with Preston on Wednesday night. It was our first game without Job, and how do you think it went, basically?
I thought Preston would be better, if I'm being honest. I thought with them getting Heckingbottom in, that had a little bit of a boost, hadn't they? And I genuinely thought they were better than what they were. I thought they were a really poor side, and we made them look half decent. We didn't get going. We didn't. I'm being honest, we didn't really look like we wanted to win the game. We just sort of turned up, say what happens, and I think there's a little bit of something creeping in around them being a little bit overconfident, maybe, and thinking they can just go and win games without really trying. And I think that happened in the second half yesterday. But the Preston game and probably the KPR one before that, it was just a lackadaisical effort. Really, it was just, did they really want it? They just sort of turned up to say thought they were going to win it really easily, I think.
Yeah, I think QPR kind of get away with it, don't they? Because you think, oh well, 30 minutes with 10 men, like was a good point. But yeah, 100% I agree with Wednesday. I think we didn't really know how to approach the game. We've gone on about how good Job's been this season, but I thought he was a massive, massive miss.
I wasn't that worried when he got suspended because I thought, well, Alan Brown's he'll just slot in seamlessly, but he just hasn't. He just doesn't have the same impact. And his first few games for us, he was brilliant, but I haven't seen that this last week or two.
Yeah, but Brown, to be honest, I thought against Preston especially was dreadful.
He was.
I don't know if that's just because going back to his old club, like they know his game and they know how to deal with him. But like one thing I was thinking of during that game, how come whenever we have ex-players play against us, like they always seem to produce like man of the match level performances, whereas like when we have it, they have absolute stinkers. Like I genuinely can't think of a single player who's done well for us when they've gone back to their old club.
Nah, very true. Like Conor Whitmore was just turn up and just score a hat-trick against us, didn't he? Sam Greenwood started well, didn't he, again for Preston, but he
Yeah.
dropped off like after that. But the first 10, 15 minutes, I thought, oh, he's going to score a hat-trick here.
Yeah, the worst one. Remember Chris Maguire? When Chris Maguire come back and got a hat trick.
Oh, he did.
I don't think he'd scored a single goal for Lincoln, and then he comes to the Stadium of Light and gets three. We got asked though on the last episode, one of the questions was about giving Mundle a rest. And to be fair, like it actually happened. So I can only assume Regis Libris listens to this podcast. Bonjour, Regis, if you do. What did you make of those changes though? I mean, to drop him and Paddy Roberts seemed a little bit excessive to me. Like,
Yeah, that didn't work. I think I want to come on to Paddy Roberts later on because I'm losing a bit of patience with Paddy. Like his end product's shocking, but no, that they didn't work. That the reality is Tommy Watson's a left winger. He's not a right winger. I actually think we need some backup on the right because obviously Bar's nowhere to be seen now. But yeah, that didn't work. Watson got kicked off the park really. Couldn't get into the game, and obviously he's on his wrong side. And he said, "Oh, for me, he's our number one striker. He's just got to stay up front, play him up front every game." Paddy Roberts looked bright when he came on. Mundle did okay when he came on, but that late in the game, it was just a flat game, wasn't it? The whole team was a bit
Yeah,
flat, I thought.
yeah.
And if I'm being honest, I think the season's catching up with us a bit, Ant. I think they're now we've shut out the blocks, and I think it's starting to catch up with us a little bit now.
Yeah, well, it's injuries and suspensions, isn't it? We always kind of thought this might happen, but yeah, I think we've maybe gone in. Like I say, I don't think we knew how to approach the game, but I think maybe the mindset is start with Isidore on the wing. We'll obviously put Tommy Watson, even though he's on his wrong side. I think we rather arrogantly thought that would be enough, but then I think the backup was if it's not enough, then at least we've got Mundle and Roberts to bring on. And obviously, when they did come on, yeah, I think we did kind of up our game a little bit, but. I think with subs, I think it takes you like generally about 10 minutes to get into the game anyway. So I don't think we gave them enough time to actually get on and affect the game. Paddy Roberts just got fouled every single time he got the ball. But yeah, it was just very, very flat. Obviously, with Rig coming back, none of us expected Rig to come back. So I think we were kind of going into Wednesday a little bit apprehensively. And I think we thought that a point wouldn't be a bad result as long as we then got on to Saturday and got 3 points against Coventry. And to be honest, you said it was a must. Was it you that said it was a must-win game? You felt it was kind of coming on to be a must-win game, the Coventry game yesterday.
I think so, yeah. After the draw, it just puts pressure on it, doesn't it? Like when you draw on games or games that you should win, it's yeah, really, we should have beat them and press and like I say, I thought they were really poor to be honest. And then obviously only getting draws there, it just puts more pressure onto the next game, doesn't it? There, especially when you've got Sheffield United who are got a load of momentum now. Leeds have Burnley up and down a little bit, but we know there's some quality sides around us now, and we need to try and keep our heads above them.
Yeah, well, I mean, for 45 minutes yesterday, at least, it seemed like a foregone conclusion. We were going to absolutely spank Coventry. But I mean, it just gave us a reminder that even though things are looking up this season, we can still just be Sunderland as fuck. I think that's the expression, really. It was proper
I know,
Sunderland as fuck yesterday, I thought.
I know. It was like last season-esque, wasn't it? It was
Mhm.
we just but again it was so comfortable that first half that was just lulled us into a false sense of security, didn't it, for that second half, and we just thought, oh, we'll just come out and we'll piss it, and we sat back. It's frustrating me a little bit. I know we've sort of transitioned into a side that play on the counter almost now, but if you look at the Oxford game, it was like just total control. Like that's how we should be playing, in my opinion. Just control the game. So we're good enough to do it. But it's almost like they can't really be asked to hold the ball. They're happy to just sit in because we have a good defensive structure, but it just invites pressure, doesn't it? And if you don't take your chances like we did yesterday in that second half, then you can go on and my teams can nick goals against you, which happened.
Yeah, well, like to be honest, first half, I thought we did manage the game quite well. I think it was second half. I think they were a lot more physical second half, and it showed massively. And that's I think when you can't afford to sit in because as you say, if you're inviting pressure on, it's only inevitable you're gonna give in eventually. But the two goals, we'll obviously start with them yesterday. Our two goals. Like, can you think of a Sunderland game where there's been two goals as good as that in the same game?
No, not in the same game. I don't think. The Isidore one was special. I know the certain one was a great goal. I think the keeper maybe could have done better, but the Isidore one, especially the score from that angle, was top notch. Like
Yeah,
he's been class for us. That's to me why he's just got to play up front. Stop putting him on the left.
yeah.
Just keep him up front. He's our striker, number one striker. End of story.
100%. To be honest, I'm pleased you've said that. I actually think that the Isidore goal was the better of the two. I know maybe Serkins because it's like an absolute thunderblaster. I think that obviously looks better, but I think that Isidore one, the technique was absolutely superb. I actually said after in like the celebrations of that goal, I said like he is literally just Thierry Henry. Like honestly, the
Oh
way he
yeah,
took that was absolutely superb.
I've tested like we've been testing the group, haven't we, about it, and like he's like the championship Thierry Henry for me, like the way he plays, the way he moves, and obviously he said he sort of models his game on Henry. Who, to be
Mhm.
fair, is one of my favorite ever players, and also more than happy with more than happy with what he's doing. But
Yeah.
I just wish he'd stop putting him on the left because Connolly doesn't offer anything at the moment. He's not quite sharp. I don't think. I think he needs a bit of, I don't know, probably a bit more football with the under 21s possibly because it just doesn't look sharp when he comes on. He offers nothing.
Yeah, I think he looked very, very lightweight yesterday. It was like quite worrying to see. But we had, like I say, we had our chances, even at 2-0. We had a couple of times on the break where we could have hit them again. I thought there was I don't know whether it was because Serkin obviously got his goal and it was like a long range shot, but I felt there was a few times after that, like we were trying to shoot from like impossible angles to maybe catch their keeper out again. And there was times I just thought, like, I think we get accused of overplaying quite a bit. But there was times yesterday where I was like, oh, if we just maybe like, kept our heads a bit there, we could have actually played that into something better there. So I thought, we could have maybe been 3 or 4 at half time if we'd just been a little bit more composed.
Yeah, but even the second half, I feel like we missed some absolute great chances. Like Isidore, obviously, he lashed onto a back pass, didn't he? He just couldn't get over the keeper. There was other times I think Paddy Robertson would break or Mundle would break, and it was just that final pass. It just wasn't there in that second half. But this is going to bring us on to Paddy Roberts actually, because I was wanting to get your view on it, but I'm really losing patience with him, mate. He's up to the edge of the box. I think he's the best player in the league, or one of them. Like I don't think there's any doubt about that. But his final product is just absolutely terrible, and I actually think to the point where it's costing us points now.
Yeah, well, the big one yesterday was that shot at the end, wasn't it?
Oh man, I know, I know.
And to be fair, like it's one of them, like you've got to take the chance. Like he's done it before. You think of that goal, I think Watford a couple of years ago, where he scored in the last minute, and like it's the same sort of thing. So you kind of think,
Well,
well,
I think he's done it once. Genuinely, I think he's just done it once.
Yeah, fair enough. But what a bloody goal, eh? What a,
Well,
what
it
a
was a
goal
beauty,
that
don't
was.
get us wrong, but like,
Yeah, I know. And again, it's I think it's the whole confidence thing with him, isn't it? Like I think he's obviously like forcing it sometimes. But yeah, I agree with you 100%. Like around the pitch, he's absolutely fantastic. But then when he gets into the box, there's just total lack of composure for him. But I mean, the second half, just generally, like there wasn't really any, even at the start of the second half, there wasn't really any signs of Coventry getting back into us. I mean, even their first goal, from my position, it looked like it could have been a tad offside. But even their first goal seemed like really fluky and against the run of play. I don't know how it looked from your side, like.
yeah, well, I mean, it was lucky. It was a lucky goal, but it came off Brown, didn't it?
Oh, did it?
It was like yeah, it was like a ricochet. It came off Brown. It obviously caught O'Nien out, and he's in right. Hadji Wright latched onto it and scored. I mean, it was lucky, but that's the thing, isn't it? When you're sitting back, 2-0's a dangerous scoreline. Everyone knows that. You told that from being pretty 5 or 6 year old when do you know what I mean? When you play football, so for them to just come out that second half and sit back, I was really frustrated with that. And we seem to be getting into a habit of that, of just like sitting back, seeing what happens, and then just sort of lashing it up there, Isidore or Mundle, and trying to hit teams on the break. But I actually think we're better than that. I think we can play in
Yeah.
different ways, and it's just frustrating to say that, especially at home against really poor sides. It's
Yeah.
it was a bad day yesterday. Well, bad setting off anyway.
I think it, like I say, it depends on the opposition. Like I'd say in terms of like you think back to the Oxford game, we came on in, we're all saying like, oh, it was very composed, like good game management, we didn't overexert ourselves. But again, it depends on the opposition. Like Coventry, as I said earlier, like a big physical side, and they've obviously had a very poor season so far. But like you say, they've still got Wright and players like that who are like just they're going to bully you. And you could kind of see they looked a bit shell shocked when they scored. It was as if like, bloody hell, we've got a goal here, like we're back in this, like as if they couldn't believe they'd scored. But then at that point, it was like, as you say, 2-0, 2-1's a very dangerous scoreline. And you could see the anxiety creeping around the ground. But what I will say is just being a bit more positive. I think we still had chances at 2-1. I don't think we just immediately shut up shop. I think it was only when Mundle and Brown went off, that was when things changed massively. But up until that point, we still had our chances to make it 3-1.
We did. You would definitely say reaction straight away. Like there was just a bit more energy there to our sort of player, but um, obviously Mundle going off, Brown going off, it just disrupts things, doesn't it? And obviously we haven't really got the players to bring on at the moment. So I think that second goal was, I mean, it just felt like it was coming after um after Brown and Mundle went off. So I just 2 points thrown away, and I said was getting beat by better sides, but throwing points away from me is unforgivable, and that was just, I think we've done it in the last couple of games, because Preston we should be beating them, and they were really poor, and then yesterday was just a shocker.
I tell you what I did see, and it actually did make us think. Obviously, we've got a very poor injury record, and everyone kind of gets frustrated, rightfully so, at the fact that like we never seem to have like concrete timescales for our players' injuries. Like it's always like, oh, it'll be 2 weeks, then it'll be 5 weeks, then it'll be 6 weeks. And someone actually questioned like our medical staff yesterday because it was clear to see that like Brown was in a lot of trouble. And then like he just came back on. And it was like as if your medical staff going, oh no, you're fine, just run that off. And then obviously he was on for about a minute and then he sat down, didn't he? And it just kind of does make you think. It's like if their advice is, oh, you're fine to continue, it does make you think, doesn't it? Really, I don't know. Like
I know. We have got a lot of injuries. But then again, I do think we signed a lot of injury-prone players as well. And I think that's why we end up getting them because they maybe don't. Well, they've got bad injury records, so they don't play so much for their other clubs, but they are talented players, and that's how we end up getting them in. But frustrating. It's frustrating overall.
I mean, I'll not mention the choice of subs because that's one of the Twitter questions later, which we'll get onto. But what I do want to mention is Dan Neil. Like I've always tried to keep out of the whole kind of Dan Neil pile on that sometimes happens when he has a bad game. And last week, I think someone asked about is the captaincy weighing heavy on him? Is that too much of a burden for him? And I said no, I don't think it should be. I think you were on about him being a local lad, so it's obviously going to like play on his mind more. But to be honest, I said it wasn't a burden, but I take it all back after yesterday. Like again, I still don't want to jump on the bandwagon, but I noticed that when it went to 2-2, we had kind of like a little mini huddle in the middle of the pitch. All the players got together, but it was Luke O'Nien. Do you know what I mean? It was Luke O'Nien having to do it, and Dan Neil was just kind of like stood like his hands on his hips. And it's like,
I said that. I said that exactly that a couple of weeks ago. It wasn't necessarily the fact he's a local lad. It was his age. He's just a young lad, and it's hard that having that amount of responsibility. And when there's players older than you and more senior, and if I'm being honest, they're just better leaders like O'Nien is, Metham is. I like he wasn't the right choice. I understand why they did it. Do you know what I mean? He's a good player. He's a good lad as well. But no, I don't quite think it was the right thing to do. But obviously it's too late now. But I think O'Nien's the proper leader on the pitch, and Metham as well. Since we signed him, he's been great. But I think we're stuck with it now. I think we're gonna have to see it out because obviously it'll smash his confidence if you take it off him. But
well, he's very low on confidence. I mean, even that chance that he had, like a confident Dan Neil shoots every day of the week from there. But what do you think goes through his mind there? Like, why is he not just busting the net?
Confidence, exactly that. I think Andy's just. I just think we're just getting like 6 out of 10s out of him at best. Like every week, I think he's sort of going under the radar a bit. And I do think part of that is because of the position he's sitting. He is like a proper sitting midfielder now. Well, that's where he's being played. But obviously, Job, I think his performances have just like obviously gone through the roof. So's Chrissy Rigg, and I just think they're outshining Dan Neil a little bit. As you say, if he's got to be a leader, is that affecting them? Just overall, I don't know. I don't know if the season's just catching up with him a bit as well, and he might need a rest. But I think the whole plan wasn't it. We've got that the lad that we signed in the summer. Is it Samed?
Mm-hmm,
The midfielder. Obviously, Dan has got no support really, as he's the only one playing that position. So until we get this lad back and get him up and running, then I can't really see him dropping out the team.
Yeah, and it was strange, obviously, just the way we kind of reacted to Coventry equalising, like in terms of the changes that we did make when Mundle and 2-1, wasn't it, when Mundle and Brown went off? But even when it got back to 2-2, like we didn't really change it in the way I thought he would have done. But I mean, we'll get on to the Twitter questions because there's a lot of discussion about that in them. First one is from Josh Hutchinson at Josh Hutchinson 7. And he says, is it alarming that we paid millions for Alexic, but we would rather fuck up the entire system to avoid bringing him on?
Not for me. Not for me. I think you can't speak English. We've seen what's happened with Royson, who's been like pretty bad, really, hasn't he? And I think coming into a game, a really physical game, I don't think it's quite right. Just sort of throwing him in. So obviously you've got Dan Bollard there, who's generally a reliable, experienced centre back for us. So I wasn't too alarmed with yesterday. But it would be nice to see him play some football, or do you know what I mean? Get him up to speed with English at least. Do you know what I mean? So we can actually utilise him at some point. But I don't know if the game yesterday was the right one. But we definitely need to get him in the team at some point because he's a talented player and obviously we spent money on him. But that being said, I don't want to rush him either because that can go the other way as well, can't it?
Yeah, definitely. I think to bring him in now as well on the back of like a poor week, I think that would maybe show signs of a bit of desperation. It's like, oh, 2 weeks ago you're saying, oh, he's not ready, and then you're all of a sudden throwing him in a tough game like yesterday where we were clearly on the back foot after Coventry equalised. So yeah, I don't think he's ready. But international break, send him down like right working men's club, get him some English lessons or whatever. Just
Get him
get
some
him
math
in.
lessons.
Yeah,
I
get him
love the
like
English
Malcolm
lessons down
Tutu.
there. No, I think I even think if it was 2-0 yesterday and it was like 75 minutes, then maybe bring him on,
Mhm,
get him into a game where we're winning, we're controlling the ball and stuff. But the game yesterday wasn't the right one for him when we're fighting to not lose almost towards the end, weren't we?
mhm. The next question is from Richard, Rich South 72. It's not really a question, but I'd said that when I put the post out yesterday, I said, where did it all go wrong? And he said, we need to be more ruthless and clinical in front of goal. We're getting good positions, but our final ball is shite, or we don't even shoot. We overplay it or try too many flicks and tricks. So I'm going to ask the question, a bit maybe devil's advocate here, but do you think we think we're better than we are now sometimes in terms of overplaying it, or do you think it's just one of them things?
It's a tough one, isn't it? Because like if you talk about us being clinical, that first half were very clinical. Like that Isidore goal was absolutely brilliant. Certain goal was brilliant. So first half we were really clinical. The second half, I don't know what went wrong, but to me, I'll come back to Paddy Roberts. I think we need so much more from him. I was looking at his numbers. He's got 3 assists this season and 1 goal, and you've got Mundell on the other side who's got 4 goals and I think 1 assist now with the one yesterday.
Mhm.
So, but the reality is, for Paddy Roberts, he's a senior player. He's like 26-year-old. Like
Yeah,
we need higher numbers than that from 13, 14 games out the season. Like Mundell's just come into the team and he's got better numbers than him. So,
yeah.
I think for me, I was going to come on to it later on as well, but I was thinking about like where we need to strengthen in January. And for me, it wasn't necessarily an issue before the last week or two, but I think we've got to try and get somebody else on the right hand side. Have Tommy Watson and Mundell on the left, and Robertson somebody else who's just a bit different and a bit more clinical on the other side, because he's just not doing it. And the reality is, I don't think he's going to do it. He's at that age now where I think he's maybe found his level, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, maybe you're right. I mean, what I would say is at the minute, as it stands, as poor as he can be in the final third of his end product, we definitely look a better team with a minute, regardless of how poor it can be in final third sometimes. But it's interesting because it's interesting to sort of say, well, who would you even get in? Because we've obviously said before, like the way the club do the business and the markets that they kind of look in, like we wouldn't have a clue. Do you know what I mean? It's just one of them things. But you're hoping that there's going to be at least competition for him because that I think that's the problem. I think he knows even when he got dropped on against Luton and then obviously against Preston during the week. I think in his head he's like, oh, I'll still be back in next week. Do you know what I mean? He doesn't have that threat of being like, shit, I could be out the team for good here because there's just nobody really ready to actually step up and challenge him.
That's the right word for it. I think we just need competition on that side. Because, like I say, Tommy Watson isn't a right winger. He's a left winger. That's where he's best. He's similar to Jack Clark in the way he plays. Um, but but to me, that's what I was expecting. Or I think that's what we needed from Roberts this season. That he picks up some of the Jack Clark numbers and he takes some of that weight off the team. But fundamentally, he's just not capable of doing it. And I think we need someone with something a little bit different who can actually score goals and actually create goals for others. Because Paddy Roberts, unfortunately, I don't think he's ever going to be able to do it, or not consistently anyway.
Unless we get Amad Diallo back in January, in which case he'll pack us another 20 goals and assists before the end of the
Aye.
season. The next question is from Rob Ellison Davidson at Rob SAFC fan. Is today the first time RLB has been at fault with his subs? Injuries and suspensions are going to test the squad depth. Thoughts on Connolly in the next 3 games?
Well, he was sort of forced into the subs, wasn't he? It wasn't like he decided there. They decided to bring Mundell off and Brown. Obviously, they were injured, but you could say that he could have changed it, done something different with the system, brought Watson on maybe. Um, just like as a direct replacement for Mundle as opposed to sort of changing things around because Isidore again for me has got to stay up top. Connolly's just not really at it at the moment. He might get some goals for us later in the season, but he's not sharp enough at the moment, I don't think. Um, the necessary games. Who are the necessary games? I mean,
So I'm looking now, obviously the international break coming up, and then we've got Millwall away, West Brom at home on the Tuesday night, and then Sheffield United away on the Friday night.
oh, shit.
Big three,
Oh
10
well.
minutes.
Well, I mean, we haven't half fucked the last week up then, have we?
Look, we all said the playoffs was the aim at the start of the season, so
I
let's.
didn't. I want automatic.
I know you put your house on this, Mark. We need to go automatic for you.
Fuck's
Um,
sake.
but yeah, it's hindsight's obviously a big part of it. Like, I do agree that he got his subs wrong yesterday, but like you said there, what else could he have done? We've already said like Alexic wasn't ready. Isidore, though, as you say, has to stay off the wing. I think he's our only real kind of direct goal threat at the minute. Connolly, I don't know, because I don't want to like write him off too soon. Because I think we all said like when he first came and he did that interview and he seemed like really genuine. You're like, oh, he obviously wants to do well. Like get behind him. But like when I was looking over yesterday, like even his body language, like he was arguing with the referee half the time as well. And I'm just like, oh well, like where's your head at?
Like he's only getting over 20 minutes, half an hour. You can spend that just sprinting around. You know what I mean? Just chasing things down and pressuring defenders. But I say, I'm absolutely not writing them off. I think there's quality there, but the reality is, I just think the way we're playing and the way Isidore's form is at the moment, I just don't know why you would move him out of that central position. To me, I think if looking back on it, I would have probably brought Tommy Watson on yesterday instead of Connolly and just as a direct replacement for Mundle.
Mhm.
Um, but then obviously because he switched the sort of formation today a little bit. I think he went five at the back
Yeah, we
with
brought
Ballard coming
Ballard
on.
on as well,
So
didn't he? Yeah. Mhm.
I don't know. I sort of understand it. I don't understand them. He's just saying he played Ballard, so like he was the best on the bench. But
Yeah.
and if we'd won 2-1 or if we get in a late one and won 3-2, then no one would be complaining about, would they? It's just because we're frustrated that we just dropped 2 points. So on to the next three games, nightmare, absolute nightmare. Three games.
Yeah, there you go.
Got to
Bad
try
day,
and get
didn't he?
some. I need to get some players back and hopefully we've got to pick up results. We put so much pressure on ourselves now by dropping straight up points.
What would be a good return? And so Millwall away, West Brom at home, Sheffield United away. What would you be looking at there?
5 points, 6 points at best. I think I
Yeah.
think we're going to lose one of them, aren't we?
Mhm.
So I think if we can win one and hopefully draw a couple or win two and obviously take a loss. But I mean
Mhm.
Sheffield. I mean we could lose to any of them. Sheffield United, flying Millwall have really good form at the moment.
Yeah.
And West Brom, you don't know what you're going to get with West Brom there.
Yeah. Sheffield, like you say, Sheffield United, I think everyone says Leeds, but I still think that like over a full season, I think Sheffield United will be the best team in the league. The Millwall game, obviously, we have a shit record down there anyway. But I mean, they've beat Burnley at home. They've beat Leeds at home, both 1-0.
Leeds and
So
all.
they're obviously a formidable side at home as well. So that, to be honest, I'd be happy with a draw. Um, West Brom's a strange one because like they're a bit hot and cold. They're a bit like Burnley. But I mean, naturally, they've got Josh Madger. So
Yeah.
there's a hat trick. There's an incoming hat trick for you straight away. So that'll be a funny one. And then that Sheffield United one, that would be the one. I wouldn't be surprised if we went down there and actually won, simply because it's on a Friday night on telly, and I just think Sunderland, to be fair, have a decent record on the telly.
Oh well, I like that scientific fucking evidence answer. We'll just base on if we play on the telly or not.
Sunderland's new team analysis, like, well, we're on BT Sports on Sunday, lads, so we should be all right.
We're on the telly on fucking Wednesday night against Preston. We're shite.
Aye. No, but I mean, yeah, you know what I mean. You know what I mean, like those big games, those
I
Friday
don't know what you
nights.
mean. You're talking shite again. Nah, I don't know. I mean, if we get our players back, get Job back in, and he's going to be big boost because we've massively missed Job, like
Yeah.
really have. And if we can just get a few players back and get them fit, so there's a bit of competition there, then I mean we are one of the best teams in the league. It's just dropped off over the last week or two, hasn't it? I think the season's caught up with us a bit.
Mhm.
I think the players look a bit knackered. I was saying Job, I thought looked a bit leggy before he got sent off the other game. Um, and it's a long season. It's a tough, really tough league. So there's going to be loads of ups and downs. But at the end of the day, we'd have all taken where we are now, wouldn't we? I'd have snatched hands off of this at the beginning of the season. So
Yeah, well, that's it. Like you say, you've got to show a bit of perspective. In fact, that's what Michael Bowers is saying, really. Next question. Michael Bowers at Michael Bowers 15. How important is it to keep that perspective? I agree recent performances need to be improved upon. That's fair to point out. And we'll be missing up to 4 starters by looks of it for Millwall. But we're above 2 points per game going into a third successive international break in a row. Like you said, you'd have snapped your hand off of that at the start of the season, wouldn't you?
I mean, even before these last 3 games, I think you said you thought we'd drop out the top 2, and we haven't done that. So it's obviously when you do look at the bigger picture, it's positive. It's just the throwing away points that I hate. It's a proper pet hate of
Yeah,
mine. Just like
yeah.
that set was getting beat by a better side, but just
Mhm.
don't throw points away like that one yesterday. And I thought like even Preston, like we should have battered Preston. They were shite after the first
Yeah.
10 minutes. They were garbage. We were loads better side quality wise, but we just kind of get going at the moment, or we seem to just be a bit knackered, I think.
I think it's one of those, like I'm guilty of it as well, mine, where you sometimes you look at the table and like you think, oh well, like they've dropped points as well, so it's not that bad. But this is the point, what this is the time I think where you need to be kind of like Stockholm points. Do you know what I mean? Because there
Oh,
will come a
exactly. Yeah.
time where things don't go in our favour. Like luckily they have been so far. So I hope we don't kind of look back on this. I mean, we're 5 points clear a week and a half ago. Do you know what I mean? And now it's obviously we might. I know Sheffield Derby's on later today. We might drop out the top 2 altogether. So it is a bit frustrating when you kind of think where we could have been now. And I mean, even if we'd won yesterday, we would have been. I don't think they could have gone above us even if Sheffield had won today. So
Yeah, yeah.
it's that's the most frustrating part for me. It's points that we should be winning, but we just aren't. But
It
I like
irritates me a lot when people say like, oh, like you get towards the business end of the season and like people drop points, people points and all this sort of thing. Like the amount of times you see like you get the end of the season, it'll be like 2 points in it. When you finish, it'll be like you'll be 1 point out of the
mhm,
playoff position. And like never mind like never mind the back end of the season. Like looking now, like we've just literally thrown 2 points away. Like will be absolutely critical at the end of the season, those. So it's like you've got to pick them up all season. You've got to be really disciplined all season and give nothing away. And that's a bit that really winds me up. So I'm pleased we didn't do the pod last night. I said I was fucking
yeah,
foaming last night, but
yeah,
but
honestly,
anyway,
like.
I've had a night to keep it settled us down a little bit.
Oh, good, good. I'm pleased you're feeling better, son. So Dean is the next question at Dino Cummins 85. And I think he's responding to where we've asked, where did it all go wrong? And he said it went wrong at the halftime team talk. Whatever was said shouldn't have been said. Again, there are ways to see a game out. That second half performance wasn't the way to do it. It absolutely did not need to be that way. Everything about the second half was atrocious. You can tell Dean was human when he wrote that, to be fair. He was like us when he last night. You can
Ah,
tell.
basically,
He's deleting that this morning. He's like, I've overreacted a bit there. But
Ah,
it's
there's a
easy to
point in
say,
there,
isn't
though,
it?
isn't there? There's a point
Yeah,
in
there
there. Like
is.
it's I agree that like I don't like us sitting back. I just think we're good enough to control the game and control the ball. I don't know why we've got to sit back and just counter all the time. There's absolutely a time in the game for that. Teams are naturally gonna get a foot in the ball and put you under pressure. Then you can counter. But as a like as you set out for the second half, I think it's just control the game, get your foot
Mhm.
on the ball, and we've got the players to do that.
Yeah, like I said earlier, I think Coventry were as shocked as anybody. Like they got a way back into the game, which they were really lucky to get. And then it was, you could see they were kind of thinking like, bloody hell, like what's happened here? Like the whole thing just
Yeah.
seemed to turn. So yeah, 100% I do agree with Dean, to be fair. Like uh the next question is from Sensible Sunderland's own Dan, at Dan429366. I'm messaging from a Thai prison. Can we consider that one of the worst results under Labrie, to be cruising at half time and throw it away, is properly vomit inducing? P.S. They have the death penalty here, and I can't afford a solicitor. Hope to be back on the pod next week.
I've got a feeling he's going to come back addicted to snorting cocaine off Gary Glitter's ball sack.
Well, he's like a boy left.
It was what was his question?
I don't know, something about Lady Boys.
Ah.
That was, it was. Could that be considered one of the worst results under Libri? I think so. Like, I mean, I know we've obviously lost games, and like that's the thing. We've got to remember it wasn't a loss, but to be 2-0 up at home and cruising the way we were, I'd say just in terms of how we handled the game, I'd say yeah, it's probably the worst result we've had under him.
It is. It is. We totally dropped 2 points yesterday. I really poor. I shot in the second half. Didn't really see it coming. And like I say, I can accept losing games. It's not like that's not an issue. But just throw points away straight. Yeah, I kind of get over that.
It's just one of them things, whether it's complacency or whatever else. But yeah, we totally let the game get away with us, which I hoped. I think that's why I'm so disappointed, because I hoped we were kind of above that now. Like, I think there's been games like post-match interviews before where he's actually talked about complacency and that we mustn't get complacent. So the fact that we did it so blatantly yesterday, to me, just seems a bit disappointing.
I actually fancied us to nick it. When O'Neill did his little huddle in the middle, I thought, we're gonna nick this 3-2 here. We're gonna nick
Yeah.
it, and especially with like 9 minutes at a time as well. I thought, it's on this, and it just fucking Paddy Roberts and put it in a rose head. Fucking no way.
Well, that was it. Like, again, I mentioned about the fact that I was disappointed, like Dan Neil wasn't sort of showing more of himself and like being a proper captain. But I like the fact that we even did that huddle. I can't really remember seeing Sunderland team do that. So I kind of thought, oh, it's like a bit of a shift of mentality. This, like, we're going to pull our socks up. We're going to like really go for it. And I wasn't really concerned about losing the game. Like, say, I think when the 9 minutes got announced, you were like, oh, here we go. Last minute winner is going to be absolute bedlam here. I don't know what it was. We just didn't really have anything in. We couldn't really put the ball in the box because it was just bread and butter for their centre halves. But then, like, say, for Paddy to do what he did, it was kind of like Max Power in that playoff game, wasn't it? Everybody had that shot from
Aye.
80 yards out and just went on the ground.
It was that, and obviously because he's moved Isidore onto the left, like, we had no height at all in the box. Fucking
Mhm.
Connolly trying to fight 2 6'4" centre halves. It's like it's just not going to happen.
And to me, I always think as well, like, if you are kind of going for the win like that in injury time as well, don't think position going forward anyway. I don't think position should really matter. Like, I always think back like when Alex Ferguson used to always say, like, the reason we got so many goals at Man United in the last minute was because if we weren't winning a game and we needed a goal, I would just literally tell everyone to just bombard the box, and he was like, it would just cause so much confusion for the opposition, and they couldn't live with us.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
there does need to be a bit of that, like, I think, which we didn't really have the confidence to do.
He could have
Um,
played like Ballard or Metham up, couldn't he? Just to try and win some headers around the box and just like you say, cause a bit of confusion.
yeah,
Anyway, we're going into it with micro detail now,
yeah.
we're playing Footy Manager, but uh,
That's not what this podcast is about. But the last question is from Tony Byrne at Tony_Byrne. Is it true that Dan is still in the Ladyboy wing of Bangkok jail? And I can tell you on good authority, Tony, that yes, he is. He got moved there on good behaviour. But you know what, though, Mark? I think it's probably a bit doom and gloom this episode because we're still disappointed after yesterday. 3 points obviously isn't ideal, as we've said. This was the time to kind of try and stock up all your points, as many as you can, especially when the others are dropping points as well. But I want to try and add a little bit of positivity. Still top of the league. Again, we could drop today, obviously, with the result of the Sheffield derby, because I can't really see Wednesday getting anything, to be honest with you. But like we said earlier on, if you'd said during the summer, after the third international break and going on to the end of November, we'd be in the top two with 31 points and still unbeaten at home, I think we'd have all took that yesterday. So, like Michael said in his question, I think it is important to not be overcome by doom and gloom, and let's just take every game as it comes.
what I was going to ask Anthony is obviously we're recruiting towards December now, and the January transfer window is not far off. Where do you think we need to strengthen?
It's a tough one. Well, I think the obvious one, like you said, is the right hand side. I think Paddy needs competition at best. I couldn't tell you we're going to go for, though. Like you say, you don't really know what irons the club have in the fire. I think both full-back positions. I think we did mention them on previous weeks, and I think it's been a minor miracle that like Trey Hume only got his fifth booking yesterday. Like, you know what I mean? Who'd have thought he's been on full yellow
Yeah,
cards for about 4 weeks now? So fair play, but that's going to be a massive test. So I think just off the top of your head there, I think right-hand side of midfield or right wing, and both full-back positions for me. Like, what about you?
No, exactly that. I was going to say, we're definitely right wing, as I've already mentioned with Paddy Roberts, but we desperately need cover for Hume. And Joe, I was worried about left back, but I think at least he's not a million miles off, and we've got Hjelde there, haven't we, as well? If that is a bit of a stopgap. I know he's not perfect, and he probably is a centre back anyway. But I would maybe let the left back go. But for me, we've got to get someone on the right hand side. Absolutely got to.
I mean, I love Alessi. I think he's class, but I don't see him as a full-back personally. I don't think he's great there. He's probably, like say, he's probably good enough to come in and do a job. But what you don't want to say, if someone is out for 2 or 3 games, is he good enough to play there for 3 games in a row? Like, would you personally be comfortable if Alessi was out full-back with the 3 games we've got coming up?
Possibly, like as a stopgap. Like obviously, it's not his number 1 position, but the reality is, I don't think he's going to get back in the team as a centre back the way things are going at the moment with O'Nien and Metham, unless one of either of those get injured. So I think he could well be used there. And I think he's pretty steady. He's better than Hjelde, isn't he? But it's I would say the club's got say the club are looking at, I suppose.
Yeah, let's say, who knows? Your guess is as good as mine, but I'm sure it'll all come out as we get a bit closer. I think we'll probably wrap up there though. So again, thanks for listening. And if you don't do so already, please just give us a follow on Twitter at Sensible SAFC or by searching Sensible Sunderland on Facebook. I will also mention that we're on YouTube, but I mean, you're either already listening to this on there now or you're listening on another platform anyway. But just let us know anyway if you fancy to change. We'll be back at the end of the month after the trip to Millwall. I think we're due a win down there, so fingers crossed. Me and Mark will definitely see you then, and I'm sure Lee and Dan will as well. I hope so anyway, because quite frankly, I'm running out of ways to tell you that they're both raging nonsense. So see you around.
See you later.
I don't know where I'm heading. I search to be here. It's all alone. And he scored! Sensation! When we'll be there, I don't know. When we'll get there, I ain't certain. Always I am on my way. I'm a dream boy. Come home. Paint your wagon. Come home. Where I'm going, I don't know. When we'll be there, I ain't certain. What will I get? I ain't the quick to say. Hey, but who gives a damn where on our way?
Deep one again. Watson is right in there. So too is Allen. And Porterfield! Oh, Porterfield has scored! And Sunderland, the underdog,